He'll walk into the middle, finds Wong. Wong shoots, scores! Here's a chance in front, and a great stop! Oh, Stuart Skinner putting on a play! Estephan, top of the right wing circle, traffic in front, he shoots, he scores! They're going hard, thrower just firing right, Folk coming back, oh, it's a heavy one! Miette will intercept and pass ahead for the captain, Tyler Wong. Wong in left side, cutting to the goal, he scores! Oh my, Tyler Wong's got a pair!
Now, time for the Inside Track podcast, broadcasting from Browns Socialhouse in Lethbridge. Here's the voice of the Hurricanes, Dustin Forbes.
Yes, we are at the west side location of Browns Socialhouse. This is the Inside Track podcast, the third edition of the Inside Track podcast. Dustin Forbes and Paul Kingsmith makes his debut on the podcast. Paul, of course, you might recognize the voice. You probably recognize the face more so. Formerly of Global Lethbridge. Does that still sound weird, formerly?
It does. There's still a few times at my new job where I've accidentally dropped a global when I was supposed to not drop a global reference. So, yeah, it's still getting used to it. It's only been a couple weeks, so it does seem weird.
A well-rounded sports guy, well-rounded news guy, now not doing either, but because he doesn't have to do the evening show anymore, we get the luxury of his company on the Inside Track podcast. So we're all...
And now I can just be a fan.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about watching objectively anymore. I can just
you can get
settle in
off.
I can get mad. I can get
happy.
Yeah, I can be happy. I can cheer. I can jump when the Canes win in overtime.
Hey,
it's nice.
Let's talk about that overtime game. Holy man. After that first period, I was nervous. Thought maybe, okay, here's the game that they're not going to win. And then the switch flicks in the first intermission, and we know the rest.
Yeah, it's one of those. I did too. I sort of had that feeling in the first, like, this might not be their night. And I thought especially Sittler made a huge save at the end of the first with about 10 seconds left. That would have made it 3-0 if that one had gone in. And once he made that save, I was like, hey, you know what? I don't know if I'm doubting this team anymore. This might be their night. Maybe this is one of those come from behind and take it to them nights. And then the game was kind of a roller coaster, though, because the Canes dominated the next 40 minutes, couldn't finish it off, and it almost felt in the last few minutes of the third like maybe this is one of those nights where you dominate, you don't get the extra marker that you need. PA scores late and takes it. So, right down to the wire. Wasn't sure about it, but they sure finished with an exclamation mark and Giorgio Estephan's goal in overtime.
Yeah, that goal. And we'll hear from Giorgio coming up. He'll join us in a little while. But holy man, he psyched out all 3,800 people in the building, myself included.
Oh, me too. I bit so hard when he faked a drop pass. For anyone that hasn't seen it, it'll be on WHL Plays of the Week for sure. But it was, I just can't imagine the presence of mind that a hockey player has to go, I'm going to drop the puck. No, I'm not. Yeah. And you're 2 feet away from the goal and still have time to fake a drop pass, pull it in, pull it out wide, and slip in the game winner. It's just insanely good.
A guy draped all over you, full speed, like you said, 5 feet from the net, overtime, and he has the presence of mind and the ability to do a move like that. That's something you try and practice. That's something I always tried when I was playing hockey, and I always fell on my face.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
He did it in full speed.
Oh, it's insanely good. It's one of those goals that I don't know if you've had to have played the game to fully appreciate it, but if you've ever been a plugger like I am, a guy that never played at any sort of discernible level, still plays beer league hockey a couple times a week, the thought of like you just listed off there, the checklist of things that go through your mind at that point. In beer league hockey, when I have a guy that can't skate draped over me, my only inclination right there is to try not to fall down and maybe get a shot on net. So it's just, it kind of sums up the way that everything's been going for this team this year, that it's such a perfect move at the right time, and right when you maybe begin to doubt them, they go and do something like that. Because there was 3 times earlier in the game where I got mad at Giorgio for not shooting when he had a chance to, and I'm like, oh, he's going to drop it again, and no, he doesn't. He just goes and scores the winner.
You said it perfectly. It kind of sums up the entire season. As we talk right now on this Monday night, 33-12. Second most wins in the entire Canadian Hockey League, only behind the Erie Otters, who have 36. Tops in the Western Hockey League. 6 points up on the Red Deer Rebels for first in the Eastern Conference, and they have a game in hand. Did anybody expect this?
No.
Maybe Brent Kissio and Peter Anholt, but I don't even know if they would have.
I would be curious if you put them on a lie detector, because they'll tell you now, oh, you know, you always play to be in first place. But if you would put them on a lie detector at the start of the season and said on January 18th, will you be first in the WHL, I don't think they would have passed. I can't fathom the turnaround that this team has had this year. I hope they would be better. For a lot of years, I've hoped that they would be better. There were clear signs that they were trending in the right direction through the middle of last year, through the end of last year, after the change to bring Peter Anholt in. It seemed like things were going the right way. They had some nice pieces. Stuart Skinner looked like the guy that you could build around in net. Giorgio Estephan had a great breakout in the second half of last year. Tyler Wong just gets better every year that he plays. So you knew those guys, but, I mean, they completely built a team virtually from scratch once you get past that. From the trade deadline last year to the start of this season, your 3 overagers, none of them were on the team last year. A guy like Carter Folk, who's played less than 3 seasons, is maybe your might be the third longest serving player on the team right now. So it's, you thought they might be better. You hoped if everything went the way that it possibly could, that they would be comfortably in a playoff spot. Being up like this, no way I would have ever bet on them being at this point in the season.
197 goals. They had 201 last year. They've got 57 power play goals. They had 42 all of last year. They're 19-3 at home. They only had 20 wins last year. It's incredible, the turnaround, and overnight it's been a turnaround. You consider summer a night, a complete turnaround. 180.
Just insane turnaround. And, you really don't want to dwell on the past, because there's been more than enough negatives talked about with this team over the past 6 seasons. But when you take that, and to not dwell in the past, but to take what this team had to go through and what it's been through over the past 6 seasons, to hit this point where not only is their faith restored in the team and in the direction of the franchise and where it's going on the ice and what they might be able to do, to completely flip it on its head, to go from there is no such thing as a slow gradual climb here. This was we're going to go out, and from night 2, I don't think night 1 went very well for the Canes, but from night 2 of the season onward, it's just been like lightning in a bottle of catching whatever it is that they have going on in that room. It's tough to put a finger on one thing, because there is no way that it is one thing when you have this kind of turnaround.
And they're getting production from everybody. As we speak right now, January 18th, as we record, full disclosure, on a Monday night at Browns Socialhouse on the west side, 5 20-goal scores. Riley Lindgren has 19, and he's been hurt for the last 3 or 4 games.
And your leading scorer isn't one of those.
Yeah, Braden Burke, who leads the way with 66 points, has 14 goals. They've got 5 players with 50 or more points. And Justin Gutierrez, who has 49, so he's right there. It's just amazing the contributions they're getting from everybody, and every single guy on the team is having a career year.
Yeah.
Every single guy.
Which never happens. To have that kind of, you would expect that, 1 or 2 guys may fall off. It's how teams work. It's tough to get 20 guys doing anything in the world, no matter what you're doing, all at the same time, but have 20 guys playing like they are right now. And you go down the roster, and, on nights where Vandervlis has looked like the best player on the ice, and he's, playing fourth line minutes. And Davis has looked, really good on nights. And, and the bottom defense pairing has put together times where, they put together shutdown shifts when you need them. Both goalies are, there isn't a drop-off. There's, no two better 1-2 goalie tandem going right now than Skinner and Sittler, but it just is. The contributions are ridiculously strong all the way down. Your top 9 forwards are insanely good, and then like I just outlined, your bottom 4 are right there with them on a lot of teams that those guys could be playing more minutes, and on this team they just can't because the top 9's playing so well, and it's no indication against the way they're playing. It's just this is the kind of depth you need and want for a squad that should be a first-place team.
And then you look at defense and offense from the defense, and if you've got 3 30-point defensemen on your team at season's end, you have a pretty deep defense. Andrew Nielsen, 45 games, 50 points, most among rear guards in the Western Hockey League. Cord Pankowitz, Arvin Atwal, both have 33 points already. So they're going to be well over 40 points, maybe crack the 50-point plateau. Paul, I'm telling you, going into the season, I thought this team was going to be better. There's no way I would have given you 5-1 odds that they would have been where they're at right now.
Yeah, and even if it was 20-1, just for the sake of maybe winning $20, I probably would have been invested the $1 because I would have for sure thought I would have been out $1.
Yeah.
It's tough to, we just keep cycling around. Everything is going right for this team. I think what's impressed me the most above all of it is that there haven't been the lulls and the drags and the drop-offs that you get in a season. It's that every time that I think, in my expert opinion, this game on this night,
You're an amateur opinion
that's
now.
That's an amateur opinion, just a regular Joe opinion.
Yeah.
When you look at it, and, they're on the road on a Wednesday night or, the last game before Christmas, it's playing in Red Deer, that's a trap game. That's a game that your mind's going to be elsewhere. Those are the kind of games that teams traditionally lose. It doesn't matter if you're a first-place team or a last-place team. There's certain games on the calendar that you go into and you go, if they can get a point out of tonight, it's going to be a bonus. And you've looked at those games all year, and the Canes, more often than not only aren't losing them, they're going in and dominating games, that whether it's a good opponent in their own barn or, a trap opponent where you might take them lightly in the middle of a road trip. It doesn't matter what this team has come up across. They found a way to win, and even when they haven't won, they're not, which isn't very often lately, they're not losing in any sort of way that worries you or that makes you think that, something's going wrong with this team. They've been competitive in almost every single game they've played all year long and just keep passing test after test after test, where it hits a point where it's not a fast start anymore and it's not a streak. You just have to start believing that this actually is one of, if not the best team in the WHL.
Go back less than a week, 5-2 victory in Swift Current, coming home, kicking off a 5-game homestand. Kamloops, Prince Albert, back-to-back nights, thought maybe there could be a trap game. Maybe finally they would lose a game. Not that we're at all hoping for that to happen, but you have to look at it objectively and say, okay, well, maybe there's a spot in the schedule, and they put the ringers to the Kamloops Blazers, and that is our game of the month.
Hurricanes Highlights, brought to you by ATB Financial.
Player to go right after him is out there for Kamloops, Nolan Caneen. Here's a chance for Dupereau. Hit the goalpost, trickles in. Ben Dupereau, his first as a Cane, opens the scoring. It's 1-0. Finds Jermaine Lowen. He's hit hard by Darian Skio. Crunched to the ice was Jermaine Lowen. Breakaway. Devin Sidorov in on goal. Sidorov scores! Pankowitz down behind the net in front. Mietti scores! And then they'll have a brief 5-on-3. Here's Nielsen in long. Shot scores! Oh my, what a howitzer! Ravel in, Ravel hangs and shoots, he scores!
for Banquets. Back up high, Atwell a drive, rebound, but Banco trying to tuck it in, he scores! Oh, what hands! Beautiful goal! A little shimmy, a little shake, a little tuck, and it's 4-2. For Nielsen, hooked on to, play goes on, Nielsen moves in and shoots, he scores! A deuce for Nielsen, 5-2. Back to the line for Pankowitz. Long shot tipped on, they score! Hurricanes in front. Hurricanes working in, Gutierrez shoots, rebound, stopped by Ferguson. With Ravel to the net, Chazowski a shot, rebound, stop! Loose puck in front, another save! Stewart, Skinner, oh my!
Yeah, Stewart, Skinner, oh my. Those saves were ridiculous. A 6-2 win over the Kamloops Blazers. And you know what, Paul? To me, that's a statement game, and more than the sense of they're winning again at home. They're kicking off a 5-game road trip. A homestand in convincing fashion. 6th straight win. But that's a team that handed the Hurricanes their worst loss all season, a 7-3 loss in Kamloops back in late October. And they flip-flop it and hand them a 6-2 loss.
Yeah, and those are the kind of, little tests and things that you want to see and you like to see. And, I'm sure if you ask the guys that they would remember what happened in Kamloops. And it puts a little bit of extra motivation on when you come out that night and you see those guys again on the other side of the ice to, kind of shake off that rust that sometimes comes with coming off a road trip and coming back home. So, man, that one was fun to see. It's like Prince Albert was fun to see in a whole kind of different way. It was nice to see them get pushed a little bit and then respond in the way that they did as well on Saturday night. That, it took an overtime winner, but they were not good in the first period.
No,
it was one of the worst periods I've seen them play in a long time.
Probably the worst period all year.
And, yeah, it might have been. It was bad. Shots were 14-4 or something after the first. And then from there, the Canes just dominated the next 40 minutes and flipped the shots around in the second. I think they went 16 minutes or something in the third without allowing a shot. So, in a whole different kind of way to see that test, too, that when things aren't going their way for once, which has not happened very often. It's been a lot of grabbing an early lead and then just building on it. To see that they have that character and that will that they can come back and not get down and not get scrambly and just reassert playing what has worked for them so far this year. It was a great weekend of really showing kind of what this team is all about.
33 victories as we talk, riding a 7-game winning streak, 13-1 in their last 14 games. Going into trade deadline day, 30 victories on the season. And some people were, okay, are they going to load up? Because Red Deer did. Mm-hmm. Or are they going to just add? And that's all they did, was add. They make one trade sending Scott Allen to Calgary. That's an extra draft pick in your pocket because he's not on your team exactly. And then they add Colton Croker, 97-born forward. Just kind of fits right into the mix.
Yeah, I was so curious to find out what the mindset would be going into the deadline because in my mind, it's when you're a top team and when you have a chance. Windows don't open that often, and as we've seen around here, when you have a chance to be one of the top teams, you kind of want to give yourself every chance and every opportunity to be one of those top teams. And there might even be a part of you that kind of wants to reward the guys in the room by saying, great work, here's another weapon, now go try to win a championship. I just think at the end of the day, this team was playing so well with what they had going. It was a show of faith to the guys in the room that Peter Anholt thought that the group that was here and that had been assembled has probably been through enough in terms of transitioning and bringing guys in and building a team. And then the prices were they're kind of ridiculous when you try to add real true weapons in the WHL. They always have been. And again, this year, Red Deer was just paying through the nose to get guys up there for their Mem Cup run. So I'm sure the market wasn't particularly favorable to adding a real weapon to your team, but I also don't think there's a lot of urgency to do so, that this team has kind of proved that what they have going for them right now is working for them. Maybe you don't want to mess with that too much.
The old philosophy of reward and stay with the guys that got you there?
Yeah, dance with the one that brought you.
And we got Peter Anholt's thoughts on the trade deadline.
Well, we just felt that we have enough depth, and especially with the Addison kid coming off of his injury and getting ready to play, he can come in and play at any given time that we need him, and maybe join our team even down the road with a stretch run. And so we thought that if we had a chance to recover something for Scotty, we thought we'd move forward with it. Otherwise, we would have just kept him and used him as an affiliate, much the same as Calgary are going to do that. But we got a chance to recover some asset from him. And then, with Colton, we just thought that we just wanted to add some depth to our front end, and he's a 97, which kind of fits into our group, and he can get around the ice pretty well. He's 6'3", can certainly put on some weight, but we think that he could be a good add for us and has some upside.
More of a hockey trade, less of a rental in terms of having him as a 97 born. You have him next year potentially as an overager. He's a kid that put up some points in junior as well. Do you like the upside he brings?
Yeah, John Paddock and I talked about him a number of different times, and so it kind of worked out for us to get him this time around, and we didn't have to give up a ton and didn't have to disrupt our team.
Talk about the team, 33-12 as we speak right now. Going into the season, I'm sure the goal was to make playoffs. That looks to be pretty close to being a guarantee, but maybe just talk about the season and your thoughts on it as a whole.
Well, I think with our team, we wanted to just keep getting better each and every day, and I think we've done that. And then with that, there's been some good results, and we're probably ahead of where we thought we would have been in the standings. But you know what? Because of the good job that the kids have done and the good job that the coaches have done, we've seen some. We've probably fast forward ourselves a little bit as far as where we thought we'd be at this point. But yeah, making the playoffs, we wanted to make the playoffs, but that to me is gone by the wayside now. Our whole focus is moving forward, and hopefully we can win our division and move on from there. But there's still a lot of hockey to be played yet.
You must be pretty proud of the group so far.
Yeah, very much so. I am really pleased. As you know, I think that with our team the way it is, I'm pleased with the way we play. I'm pleased with how hard we are to play against, and we never give up on any given game, and we go into each game with the idea that we're going to win. So, credit Brent and the coaching staff to bringing that together, and I think from my standpoint, I sit above and just proud of how the team plays.
There's the general manager of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Peter Anholt, proud about the way his team plays, and he stands above. In fact, he sits right next to the broadcast booth, so me and Rosie have to watch what we say if things aren't going bad, or if things are going bad, but fortunately enough, we haven't had to worry about that.
Hasn't been much of an issue this year.
Exactly. His thoughts on the trade deadline, you got it there. Just wanted to add some depth. I think the injury factor, too, with Carter Folk and Riley Lindgren might have played a little bit of a factor into that, because come playoff time, and we can legitimately talk about playoffs now, which is a crazy thought that on January 18th we could talk about playoffs.
Yeah.
That's going to be a legitimate thing that comes to fruition at some point, whether it's a Riley Lindgren or a Giorgio Estephan. Somebody will likely go down or will have to play with an injury. That's just part of it.
That is part of it. And this team, the one thing that for a long time that you could point to of what really allowed things to go right for them is that this team had no injury issues for most of the season. You lost Carter Folk off the start of the year, but then he came back, and it's so rare that teams get to roll out the exact lineup they would want to roll out for almost the entire season, and they had that going for a long time. Now they're facing that little bit of adversity when you talk about Lindgren and Folk. I thought that third line was just maybe the best third line in the league, what they had going there on
well, right now, if they were intact, you'd have a 20 and a 19 goal scorer on it.
Yeah, on your third line.
Your third line.
Which isn't too bad. So, I mean, when you when you run into that injury trouble, and you need that depth. You need guys to not only the depth has to not only be that bodies that you can slot in, but bodies that you can move up as well. And I think that they've built that now. And adding Croker just gives another option and another weapon that. Even the other night against Prince Albert, we saw him take some spins on the second line and move up there. And so you hope that, and a guy like Ben Dupereau too, he's got some offensive upside. Guys that can play up on the units a little bit and play over there, where they're slotted right now. That kind of depth comes in so key. You knock on wood and you hope that your top 6 forwards and your top 9 you hope that no one gets hurt, but you really hope that those top-end guys don't get hurt. But sometimes they do, and you need to be able to adjust and play with that. And so I think that the depth that they built now is just really incredible for kind of where this team came from, that it didn't seem to have a lot of weapons at their disposal coming into the season or halfway through last season. And then it was this team again that Peter Anholt sort of built piece by piece through one trade here and one trade there, and assembled this team sort of out of nowhere, and yet at the same time has really assembled a team that slots in perfectly when you look at the guys, and you have your clear-cut lines, but then you also have that flexibility that you can move guys around a little bit. You can keep a spot on that first line left wing open and slot guys in and out and move it around so that you still get that flexibility of finding something that works, while at the same time having the weapons that your go-tos of what you're able to do when you do need a goal and need to bear down.
33-12, 19-3 at home, 14-9 on the road, 3-0 in overtime, 2-0 in a shootout. This team just continues to roll and continues to get it done. When you talk about playoffs, we're pretty darn close to talking about clinch, because mathematically it's still 30 points away, but that means Edmonton or Medicine Hat has to win out their remaining games, and that's about 26 or 27 for them. When you look at the 8th place team over the last 8 or 9 years since 2005-2006, that's the first year of the shootout, so the first year of the new rules and the loser point, which really comes into effect. 73.2 is the magic number in terms of points required to make the postseason. So 73 points. January 18th, the Hurricanes have 66 points.
That's wow. It's one of those, you can just keep rolling out stat after stat after stat that just make you shake your head, like they defy logic. And all season you try not to talk about playoffs. You try not to get ahead of yourselves. But we're really at the point of there's no way this team doesn't make the playoffs. Yeah. Obviously, this team will be in the playoffs. On an
epic tailspin and still probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, you could play as bad as any team has played in the league for years, and you would probably still make the playoffs. Like, you'll pick up 8 points throughout the rest of the year, and that just is not going to happen with this team. So you're past the point of talking about will they make the playoffs. Now you start talking about where they slot in come playoff time and where those matchups start to look at. And that's so exciting as a fan to be able to, at this point of the year, start to worry about what Red Deer is doing and what Calgary is doing and what Brandon is doing, and start looking at, if they can get that 1 seed, Red Deer and Calgary have to play in the first round. You don't have to go through both of them to get out. These are the things that Hurricane fans, for the first time in a long time, are allowed to do and can start getting excited about of seeing what this team is capable of.
And the question of, is this team, if not the favorite, one of the favorites to go all the way and win the Edge-South Cup and represent the Western Hockey League in Red Deer at the Memorial Cup? Because if there's a year to do it, this is the year to do it, because the Mem Cup is only 3.5 hours away. And not only are they winning hockey games, but they're also winning the Hockey It's in Our Blood 2016 Rebels versus Hurricanes drive. After week 2 of the Hockey It's in Our Blood drive, the Hurricanes, and I guess the Hurricane fans, have 558 units collected and new donors, as opposed to Red Deer's 500. So they're
just not even close anymore.
Everything.
And I think that's the first tiebreaker for the playoff spot.
Yes, it is, of course. Yeah. All right. Paul Kingsmith, Dustin Forbes at Browns Socialhouse on the west side. We'll take a break. When we come back on the other side, we'll hear from the guy who scored the most beautiful overtime goal you will ever see. Giorgio Estephan will join us next.
Hello, I'm Tyler Wong of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Educating the public on the power of a positive response is one of the simplest and most effective ways to encourage survivors to come forward. It's also a form of prevention because people who receive a positive response are significantly more likely to get help, seek justice, and help stop the cycle of abuse. Help me speak up against domestic and sexual violence. End the silence, stop the violence. If you need help or know someone who needs help, make a call, offer help, put their safety first, and get involved. Contact the Domestic Violence Action Team or the Sexual Violence Action Committee for more information.
Hurricanes goal scored by number 4, Arvid Atwal.
Wednesday night, your Hurricanes play host to the Spokane Chiefs. Doors open at 6, puck drops at 7. It's a great night to purchase a Save on Foods family pack. For only $55, you get 2 adult tickets, 2 youth tickets, 2 large popcorn, and 4 medium pop. Can't make it to every game? Ask about the Flex Packs. Go when you can and save money.
Lethbridge Hurricanes, fueled by passion.
Hi, I'm Tyler Wong.
I'm Riley Lindgren.
And I'm Carter Folk. For each goal we score this year, we'll be donating $5 of our own money to Kids Sport, Lethbridge, and Tabor.
The Lethbridge Hurricanes Hockey Club have agreed to match us dollar for dollar.
We challenge you, our fans, to join the cause and to donate with us. Call the Hurricanes office to see how you can help us and to help your community.
Hi, I'm Justin Gutierrez. I am A positive and so are 36% of Canadians. 1,800 new donors are needed every week to meet patient needs, make an appointment to give life, and help us with hockey. It's in our blood challenge and gets Red Deer. Download the app, give blood, and book an appointment today.
Time for From the Room on the Inside Track podcast. Here's the voice of the Hurricanes, Dustin Forbes.
Tyler Wong over the line, cross seam, Estephan scores! To Estephan with a step, trying to break free to the net. Estephan to the goal, he scores! Giorgio Estephan wins the game, and the Hurricanes mobbed him.
Yes, welcome back inside Browns Socialhouse on the west side of Lethbridge. This is the Inside Track podcast. Dustin Forbes, Paul Kingsmith, and of course the man you just heard. What a winner it was on Saturday night. Giorgio Estephan. Maybe let's start there. Let's walk us through that goal. What was going through your head? Because that is maybe the prettiest overtime winner you'll see all year.
It was a long shift for me, and I kind of just stayed back, let the other guys change, and I kind of saw a break where, a guy was caught off guard getting a pass, and I kind of pounced on it, and Babs kind of chipped me and went in all alone.
And as you're looking at that play and watching it develop a little bit, at what point in your mindset are you thinking, I'm going to drop this? No, wait, never mind. I'm just going to take it on my own and finish it off here.
Ever since I was coming down, I knew Babs was behind me. He was coming hard. I knew he kind of wanted the puck. So I kind of looked behind just to see if he was open. And I saw a couple green jerseys, so I kind of kept the puck. And luckily, the guy kind of bit and was all alone. So
that was Simon Stransky, a forward back. He bit hard on that. And I bit hard, too, because I wasn't sure what the hell you were doing. And
I bit hard, too.
Yeah,
I was like,
everybody in the building bit. Brent Kissio talked to Global today, Matt Patacchio, and he said our whole bench thought George was going to drop it. That's a move you try and practice, not in a game in overtime on a partial breakaway.
Sometimes you get lucky and you can pull stuff off. But, I was just lucky to win the game, and hopefully it was a good one for all the fans, too.
Let's talk about this hockey season. Let's talk about you first. 55 points, 45 games, 24 goals, 5 game winners with that beauty on Saturday night. Have you ever had so much fun playing the game of hockey?
No. Anytime that we can have the crowds we've been having lately come out and cheer us on. After scoring that last one, you kind of just felt the building erupt. And anytime we got the fans backing us like that, it's something special to have. And being in the last couple of years how we have been struggling, it's nice to come out on the other side of it.
And for yourself personally, I mean, you were here for some of those bad years. You're now kind of, along with Tyler Wong, the two guys that have been through this the most. And your game personally, we saw it in the second half of last year where the offensive numbers started to come with regularity for yourself, and then you just rolled it right into this year. At what point and how did you kind of build that confidence to reach the point where you are now that you can be a game breaker on every single shift that you're out there?
I mean, I think it all started when Pete came in the first time, and I found it as a new time to show myself off, and I knew he was going to give me an opportunity to try and help the team progress for the future, and ever since then he's kind of let me roll with it, and ever since Brent took over as well, he's kind of been he's been guiding us, but he's also been helping us become better players, and I think from this year on, it's kind of it's went really well. So, I mean, I can't wish for much more.
How much fun has it been playing for Brent Kissio? Obviously, he comes in from Calgary. He knows what it takes to win in this league, and he's brought that winning mentality from the get-go.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was on a good team in Calgary, and we all knew that coming in. That he's seen the winning culture, and he's seen a lot of great players go through that system. I mean, Calgary's been on top for such a long time, and they always have been. So, anytime that you can have someone with such a stature come and, try and pull our team back together, I mean, obviously he's done a great job with us. So.
And there's always so much talk about systems and structure when a coach comes in and how he wants you to play. We've seen the offensive explosion from this team this year. You guys have scored, I think, 29 more goals than anyone else in the league. When Brent talks about offense and generating offense, where does that kind of come from? Do you guys have the green light to go and be creative and try, or how has that offense generated itself this year?
I mean, anytime that you get confidence from your coach, knowing that he trusts you both on offensively and defensively side of the puck, I think sometimes you can take a couple more risks than you normally would. But I mean, he's pretty honest with the defensive part of the game as he should be, and I mean, we always have to do a better job in our defensive zone, and it always leads up to more offensive chances. I think that puck possession has been a good thing for us this year, and cycling the puck or moving it up high, has definitely been helping us create a lot more opportunities, a lot more goals. So
you guys score a lot, but you also don't give up a whole ton, under 3 per game. When you look at the plus-minus, Braden Burke and Andrew Nielsen lead the way at plus 29. You're plus 20. Yegor Babenko, who's a rookie in this league, is plus 21. Attention to detail in the defensive zone, how important is that on top of being able to score goals? And I guess when you score goals, you have the puck more often than the opposition. You don't really have to worry about defense as much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, myself and I'm pretty sure everyone else on the team would much rather play in the offensive zone than the defensive zone. So I think that being well structural-wise and getting the puck out of our zone as quickly as possible will always give us a chance to try and take over the game and dominate in the offensive zone, which, I mean, where everyone likes to play is in the offensive zone and generate chances, and, that's where all the momentum is. So I think anytime that we can, dominate the game on that side of the ice is definitely a good thing.
And then when there is an oops, there's a couple good goalies back there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've been rock solid. I mean, I think we got the best 1-2 tandem in the league, and, I mean, they're 1A, like 1A, 1B. It's ridiculous how much we rely on them, and, I mean, night in and night out, they're always on the ball. So, I mean.
And another thing that has been so big in your offense this year has been the power play, and the unit that you guys can roll out there, 2 units that you can roll out there, a threat every single time. Talk about playing as part of that unit. You're a guy that sometimes plays up front. You've been on the blue line a little bit as well on the power play. So what's made that 10-man unit or 9 guys that get to go out there on the power play so special this year?
I mean, from our power plays specifically, I think, we work the puck around well. I mean, we get a lot of shots going onto the net. I mean, the other units, they're so smooth with the puck movement and getting the puck to the front of the net. I mean, if one of us doesn't score, the other one scores majority of the time. So, I mean, we've been thankful for that, and hopefully it keeps rolling. But, I mean, just moving the puck and getting a lot of shots to the net, trying to keep it simple is, sometimes just the easiest thing.
Chatting with Giorgio Estephan on the 3rd edition of the Inside Track podcast. We're at Browns Socialhouse on the west side of Lethbridge, the proud sponsor of the Inside Track podcast. They're also your home away from home for all road games this season. Giorgio, you were on a line last year with Braden Burke and Tyler Wong in the second half. You've stuck with Wong pretty much all season long. You've had a rotating left winger Berkey's been up there as of late. How much fun is it playing with those guys, and how does it help the chemistry and maybe the confidence when you've got kind of the same line mates all the time?
I mean, chemistry is one of the biggest things that, probably goes unnoticed all the time. I mean, and I know playing with Wonger has been, a big thing for me the entire year. We gel off each other very well, and having a solidified left winger is something that, it doesn't happen very often, but having, Berkey on our line, I think that, even going back to last year, that we all trust each other and we know what each other's going to do in certain plays. And it's definitely nice to have, the trust and the confidence in someone, and it kind of builds over time. So, anytime that, we can battle hard, we know each other's going to be supporting us.
And overall this year, I mean, like Dustin said, this has to be a lot of fun to be playing hockey right now. As you kind of go through every game and, you hit these points where the winning streaks add up and you start looking at the standings and all of a sudden you're first in the East and then you're first in the WHL. Do you get a chance to kind of sit back and reflect on what you guys have done to this point, enjoy it a little bit, or is it kind of business as usual, one game at a time? How do you kind of balance those two aspects of it, of trying to keep it going while kind of enjoying what you've done so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a remarkable year for us so far, and I think, the biggest thing that's been around the room is to, not take it lightly and not be content. I mean, anytime that, we got a big powerhouse team, even, Kamloops and PA, the last two games we had, I mean, PA we took lightly in the beginning, and we saw how they could dominate us, and, just coming back showed our adversity and our character, just the type of team that we are, and come back to win that kind of game. So, I mean, we're definitely going to keep pushing forward, but, we can't take other teams lightly.
Kind of to expand on what Paul's saying, though, do you get a chance to look at your phone or look on the computer and go, holy, like, does it sink in at all, or do you just focus on the game? I know from our standpoint, we try and let it sink in.
Yeah, I mean, after every game, I mean, majority of us are looking to see what happened around the league. We got a pretty competitive team, and everyone's, got the will to win. I mean, anytime that, we're that close to, topping the league or topping the conference, I mean, we definitely want to push that extra, little bit, just to, get a little breathing room, or, just try and be the best team possible. I mean, we've been looked at, kind of in the lower part of the rankings the last couple of years, and it's definitely nice to, turn a new leaf and be at the top.
When you talk about the players on this team, and so much has changed in the past 2 years in terms of the personnel that you have in that room, it's a team that Pete kind of assembled piece by piece, in a year and a half, and there weren't many of you guys that are still left over from what this team did go through. So as this team got constructed and got put together as you came into this season, how did you gel and become a team, and a team that can have this kind of success early on? Because you think there would have been a little bit of transition time where you get to know guys, but it seems like you guys just hit the ground running.
Coming in from the beginning of the year, I think, even with the new head coach and a bunch of new players, I think that we all knew that this season had to be a lot different than the past couple of years, and everyone was kind of putting their best foot forward, trying to get the team and go in the right direction, going from GM to even trainers. Everyone's just trying to, do what they can do to help this team get better. And anytime, you got everyone moving at full force to try and be, competitive and one of the best teams in the league, I think, it can just spell nothing but success. So I think that's kind of where we started to gel right off the bat.
Do you find teams now get up and play their best game against you guys because you're now at the top?
I hope so. I mean, I hope we kind of put a little mark on the league, and even the CHL to be on the the top, one of the top teams in the CHL is just it's a big thing for us, and being one of the top teams in the league is a big thing for us, and knowing that teams are not going to take us lightly. They're going to put their top lines try and stack up what they can to play against us. It's exhilarating, and just try and be at the top is something that all of us like. So.
Paul and I were talking before we started recording about we thought this team was going to be better going into this season. Both of us didn't think that
not this kind of better.
This kind of better. From a player's standpoint and from your standpoint, did you expect this, or is it still kind of surprising?
I mean, clearly the first place was. I mean, obviously we all wanted to be at the top. We started off hot from the get-go. And I mean, we all wanted this. I mean, it might have been we might be exceeding a lot of expectations right now, including our own. And I mean, it's a good thing for us. And I mean, being first place in the Western Hockey League and one of the top teams in the CHL is, it's still surreal. And I mean, but we're trying to push forward and we're trying to make a mark and be one of the best teams that we can. And I don't think we're going to take anything lightly.
And not to in any way dwell on the past, but what you had to go through in your first couple of years is tough for any young player to come in and fight through. How do you think that facing that sort of, those sort of hurdles and that sort of, push against you in your first few years, how do you think it helped shape you mentally to kind of get to the point now where you were able to battle through all of that and be on some bad teams to the point where you can now be a key player on a very, very good team?
Going through those experiences is a big thing for you mentally more than anything. I mean, knowing what it takes to win a game in this league is a big thing, and losing is definitely a tough thing. And being on that losing end is always the hardest thing ever. And so when you go on those big winning streaks, and when you're trying to push for playoffs or you're trying to win some games, you're dwelling on the losing times and how bad it felt, you definitely don't want to go back there.
Talk about you. Buffalo Sabres draft pick in June, 6th rounder. Take us back to June. What was that experience like? What was the feeling like? I can't imagine what it would be like to be called an NHL draft pick.
I mean, it was probably the best day of my life to this point. I mean, after all the hard work and everything that's happened, being able to have one of those teams call my name on that day was pretty special, and something that myself, my family, and a lot of close friends cherished, for the next little bit. And I mean, it is a privilege to be called by one of those teams. I mean, a lot of people would kill to be in those situations, but I mean, I'm just thankful for being called on that day for sure.
Where were you? What were you doing? Who'd you find out from? How'd you find out?
We were just at home. I mean, it started pretty early, so just a normal day. Woke up, had some breakfast. I mean, I think I got called around maybe 10 o'clock, so I mean, just up, breakfast. My little brother said it out loud. He's just kind of scrolling through it on his phone, and that's kind of right when he said it, my phone kind of erupted, and I mean, everyone was keeping track, so I found out pretty quick.
Did you hear from Buffalo on that day? Did you get a phone call from someone? And if so, what was that like?
I mean, it was pretty cool getting a phone call from like a New York area code. And I mean, having that, it was literally within a minute that, my brother yelled it out that, I was picked. And I mean, getting a lot of calls. I mean, I missed one call before. So, I mean, it was just it was pretty cool just to know that that's that next level and something that you've been kind of dreaming about for a long time. I mean, it was an interesting phone call. I mean, I was pretty nervous at the beginning, but I mean, it was definitely one that I was looking forward to.
Then you go to Buffalo for training camp. What was that like?
It was ridiculous. Meeting some of those big names that you've watched on TV your entire life, like David Legwand. I mean, he's got over 1,000 games in the NHL. I mean, I've seen him play so many times. I mean, a bunch of those top picks, like meeting Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, playing against them, and then being on the same team for him, going through training camp and everything is just pretty cool. I mean, anytime that you can meet those guys or go to an NHL camp, it was definitely a pretty special thing.
Does it add a little motivation then, too? I'm sure your first camp, you're not necessarily going in with that mindset of, I'm going to crack the roster this year. But as you go forward and you start to think about a pro career after your time here in the Dub, does it start to kind of show you some things that you need to do and give you some goals and help shape your mindset for what you can do, what you want to do going forward?
Oh, yeah. It's an eye-opening experience going there. I mean, the speed is just that much faster. Everyone's that much bigger, that much stronger. And definitely going there first time, I didn't expect it to be, as big of a jump as, some people may think. But, I mean, it's the best league in the world, and that's kind of why they prove, the NHL to be, where everyone wants to be is because, people put the hard work and effort in to, make that league. And seeing what skill sets that some of those guys have, it's just ridiculous. And, you just pick up every little thing that you can when you go to those type of things.
Who was one guy that kind of took you under your wing? Was there one guy, or did you kind of just do your own thing and mind your P's and Q's?
A lot of the guys there were very comforting in the whole sense of getting used to, the career and the life and, being, exciting coming to the rink every day. Once main camp started and gelling with players like, Marcus Foligno was very nice and, kind of helped me a little bit. All the older guys and the veterans there who are, they're grown men and, they're just, they're out to make everyone better and they're out to have good times as well. So, there's not you can't put just one finger on all those people, but everyone's there for the same thing, but everyone's also there for as a team and the same purpose. So,
and has it affected your mindset at all this year in terms of when you're going through things? Do you think about, is Buffalo watching me? What do they think? What do they need me to do? Did it change your mindset in any way that way coming into this year?
A little bit, yeah, for sure. They're definitely the team that I want to please, for sure. Outside of Lethbridge, besides for having a great season with Lethbridge, that's kind of what I'm also looking forward to is trying to please them. But they're watching on any given night, and scouts are always watching no matter what. And Buffalo's a team that I want to please, but on any given night, they're watching and they got the eye on you even if they're not in the rink. So it's definitely always in the back of your mind for sure.
I know I've seen Chris Barch a couple of times in arenas around the WHL this season. Do they keep in contact with you a lot? Are they always on the phone with you, telling you what kind of they're happy about and maybe what they want you to work on?
For sure. Buffalo's a team that really wants to develop their young guys, and they're definitely trying to make their team better and trying to push for the playoffs and Stanley Cup. They're really driven right now, and it's really nice to keep in contact with them all the time. And they're pretty consistent on keeping honest and making sure we're honest and getting better every day. And that's kind of what you expect from a professional team. And they're definitely doing their dirty work.
And at this time of year now, it's you've been through so much just to kind of get to this point. This is usually where the doldrums might set in a little bit in that middle of January, mid-season. But the way things have been going for yourself personally, for the team, does it kind of ramp up the excitement now? Are you excited, for Wednesday night, and then after Wednesday you start immediately looking forward to Saturday? Does it kind of help keep that attitude and that momentum and that pace up here, and in a time of year that's traditionally known for slowing down a little bit?
For sure. We're definitely a team that's been revolved around not being content. After struggling the past few years, everyone wants to put a mark on this league and definitely want to surprise a lot of people. So, I don't think we're going to take any game lightly, and we're definitely putting our best foot forward every night, and having those fans come out and the crowd's building every night is definitely something that gets us going for sure.
We had Carter Folk, who's suffered an injury as of late. He's been out. We had him on the broadcast after the first period on Saturday night. I talk for a living. And I'll ask you the same question I asked him. Do you feel like something special is brewing in that dressing room?
Oh, for sure. Every day you walk to the rink, you enjoy coming to the rink. Having the group of guys that we've had gel so well, and even not having to make didn't really make very many trades in the deadline. We've had a special team from the get-go, and it didn't take long for us to realize that we could do something here. And at the end of the year, we definitely want to be one of those teams holding that cup at the end. So we're definitely looking forward and looking onward, but definitely not getting too greedy. And I think we're gonna make some heads turn and do something special here.
All right, let's find out a little bit more about you. Edmonton born and raised. When did you start playing hockey? How old were you when you first laced up?
2 or 3, I'm pretty sure. My mom actually grew up starting skating with Stuart Skinner's brother, so he kind of got me through the paces, and I've been loving hockey ever since.
Favorite team and player when you were growing up? Then you're an Edmonton boy. Was that were you an Oilers guy?
I was an Oilers guy. I still am. I mean, even watching every game. I mean, I can't stand missing any. Even me and Burke on the road, we'll go in a room and watch them together. It's a special team, and I mean, Steven Stamkos has been a huge role model for me growing up, and I mean, the way he plays is just exceptional. So he's probably one of my favorite players.
Why do you wear number 9?
I mean, it was one thing growing up. I mean, 9 was just, I thought it was a cool number, and I mean, I fought for it when I was in Bantam, and I mean, I won it, and it stuck with me, going through the years, and I've kind of just, enjoyed the number, and I mean, I'll call it mine for sure.
Who's the coolest person you've got to meet as a result of your hockey career?
I mean, I've met Wayne Gretzky. I mean, he's a very cool
It's a
person.
good place to start.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say so.
Yeah, it's just eye-opening. I mean, like watching a lot of people. I met Taylor Hall. I mean, he's a pretty cool guy to meet. He was my coach at the All-State thing, so that was really cool. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet a few of the Oilers. So I mean, any time that you can see the success that those people have had, it's definitely nice to try and take a couple notes off them.
Being drafted aside, favorite hockey memory, what stands out?
I mean, growing up, I always had, I was fortunate enough to be on good teams. We won provincials a couple times in Pee Wee and Bantam. I mean, I was fortunate enough to go to Westerns in Bantam. Weren't fortunate enough to win, but I mean, winning provincials and just having the success as young teams, that was probably one of the good things.
Do you have any like good friends around the league, guys that you grew up playing with? Someone that when you check the schedule at the start of the year, you go, when do we play this guy, and that you get kind of ramped up for?
I mean, I've grown up playing with a lot of players that are in this league. I mean, on any given night, I mean, I probably got a buddy on the other team. I mean, it's just cool to play against, people that you've been growing up and, seeing every day, in your, young past and minor hockey. I mean, playing against guys like Braden Point when you were younger, and now playing against them, now it's a big eye-opener. Guys like Matteo Gennaro, who, just got traded to Calgary, we're going to see a lot more of him. I mean, even playing, against Berkey, we didn't really get to play against him in Red Deer, but, now having him on our team is just something cool. So, I mean, having those people from my hockey days is kind of brings you back home.
You guys are a pretty close-knit group. Music is always a hot-button topic. Tyler Wong, the captain, was on the first episode of the Inside Track podcast. He's a country guy.
Yeah, guess what he said? Oh, God.
Andrew Nielsen was on the second Inside Track podcast. He's kind of a Justin Bieber guy. What's Giorgio Estephan?
I mean, I'm kind of a rap guy. I mean, I like the rap music. That's kind of where I've settled at. But I mean, I'm pretty good for majority of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of country, but.
Is that a power struggle with Wonger?
100%.
He's like 100% country.
Oh, he is 120% country for sure. I mean, it's definitely a battle, but I think we've kind of got our mornings country, and everything after the morning is not country. So,
do you like the warm-up music? Because I know you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys picked it yourself.
I do actually. I mean, I think we might have just changed it. I'm not. I think I like the up-tempo warm-up tunes, and definitely being able to hear your heartbeat a little bit. It's something that gets me going in warm-up. But I mean, I don't really hear it all the time, but I'm kind of just focused on what's going on. But I mean, I kind of like the up-tempo music for sure.
When we get into Giorgio's car, what's the first song that plays?
The first song, probably it's something to do with like Wiz Khalifa, but I mean, I'm not a huge music person, so it'd probably just be the radio.
Just the radio?
Yeah.
Rock 106?
I don't know.
Tread carefully.
Yeah.
The answer is always yes when Dustin's around.
I guess lastly for you, when you look forward, and maybe when you look back, what goes through your mind when you think of the season so far, 45 games in?
I mean, it's been exceptional. I mean, I couldn't have, kind of dreamed it any other way. I mean, being in first place in the whole league is, something that we take very seriously. And, I definitely take seriously. I kind of try and help our team out as much as I can every night, and I mean, everyone goes to bat for each other every night, and that's kind of what makes our team special. And I know it's definitely exceptional to be a part of, and just makes us love hockey even more.
Giorgio, thanks for this. Have fun the rest of the way. Keep doing what you're doing, and if you do that, I think we're going to have a long spring here in Lethbridge.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
There's Giorgio Estephan on the 3rd edition of the Inside Track podcast. We'll take a break. When we come back on the other side, we'll go around the WHL. Paul and I will break down everything that happened at the trade deadline. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot, basically.
It won't take a long time.
Yeah, it won't take long.
Hi, I'm Tyler Wong. I'm Riley Lindgren.
And I'm Carter Folk. For each goal we score this year, we'll be donating $5 of our own money to Kids Sport Lethbridge and Tabor.
The Lethbridge Hurricanes Hockey Club have agreed to match us dollar for dollar.
We challenge you, our fans, to join the cause and to donate with us. Call the Hurricanes office to see how you can help us and to help your community.
Hurricanes goal, scored by number 4, Arvid Atwell. Wednesday night, your Hurricanes play host to the Spokane Chiefs. Doors open at 6, puck drops at 7. It's a great night to purchase a Save on Foods family pack. For only $55, you get 2 adult tickets, 2 youth tickets, 2 large popcorn, and 4 medium pop. Can't make it to every game? Ask about the Flex Packs. Go when you can and save money.
Lethbridge Hurricanes, fueled by passion.
Hi, I'm Carter Folk from the Lethbridge Hurricanes. I'm O positive and can help 80% of hospital patients. You have the power to give life. Join the movement and donate blood in support of the Lethbridge Hurricanes hockey. It's in our blood challenge against Red Deer. Go to blood.ca to book an appointment.
Hello, I'm Andrew Nielsen of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Domestic violence reaches every corner of this country. Each year, over 40,000 arrests result from domestic violence. Since less than 25% of all domestic violence cases are reported to the police, we know this number is much higher. Help me speak up against domestic and sexual violence. End the silence. Stop the violence. If you need help or know someone who needs help, make a call, offer help, put their safety first, and get involved. Contact the Domestic Violence Action Team or the Sexual Violence Action Committee for more information.
Time to go around the Western Hockey League on the Inside Track podcast. Here's the voice of the Hurricanes, Dustin Ford.
Browns Socialhouse, West Lethbridge, Inside Track podcast, episode number 3. Dustin Ford, Paul Kingsmith, formerly of Global Lethbridge, now of Lethbridge College. It still sounds weird, man. We miss you at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, it sounds weird to me. It's still sinking in. But oddly, I've been to a few more Hurricanes games, though, lately.
Go figure.
Since the job changed.
Isn't that ironic?
It is.
Yes.
Funny how that happens sometimes.
Isn't that hilarious? And you've had a good team to watch. We go around the Western Hockey League, and we can't not start with the Lethbridge Hurricanes because guess what? They lead the Western Hockey League in
Start
points.
right at the top.
Start right at the top. 66 points. Lethbridge Hurricanes. 3 points shy, 3 points clear as we talk on this Monday night of the Kelowna Rockets, who again just continue to have they're a perennial contender. They continue to win.
Yeah, that's the kind of program that every team wants to emulate. There's a handful of them around the league, but if you can find that spot where year in, year out, you're replenishing your stock and you're becoming a contender year in, year out, it's tough to do. It takes a real commitment to what you're doing and building a program in the right way. But if you're able to do it like Kelowna has for years now, I mean, that's what every team's striving for. And again, they just keep on ticking.
Not to mention third coach in as many years.
Yeah, it's not like it's been the most stable program, at least behind the bench either.
They just continue to get it done. The only other team in the Western Hockey League, Lethbridge aside, to have cracked the 30-win plateau. Victoria, second in the Western Conference. Prince George, who started slow but has really picked up their game as of late. 6-4 in their last 10, but 27 victories for them. They sit almost 1 point shy of Victoria for top. Well, I guess Kelowna aside, 1 point shy of the second spot in the BC division.
Yeah, that's another team. A lot of similarities almost to what's happened here in Lethbridge with a program that Prince George is always not a program that's ever had a consistent, they've had years here and there, but haven't been able to build any sort of consistent winning program up there. So, again, they've put together some nice pieces there and caught a little bit of lightning, and now they're just kind of riding it out. Lethbridge's own Cody McDonald is finding his stride there, and, it's a team that this year in the dub, it feels a little more wide open than a lot of other years. That there aren't really, two powerhouse teams and then a drop-off. There's 5, 6, 7 teams that can all be considered in that mix right now, and Prince George is fighting their way right back into that.
It's interesting that at the start of the season, everybody had the Seattle Thunderbirds pegged as the team to beat in the Western Conference, if not the team to beat in the Western Hockey League. And there they are. If the playoffs were to start today, they would have home ice advantage only because they're second in the U.S. division. But if you go by the old format, they wouldn't have home ice advantage in the first round. They're 5th right now in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and they've struggled to find their footing kind of right from the start of the year. They just have never got that consistent streak going of being able to win hockey games. And then going into the deadline, it was sort of a shuffling of deck chairs and a series of trades with the Swift Current Broncos, where apparently what's not working in Swift will work in Seattle. And I don't know if I've ever seen two teams make a series of trades that close together before, but Seattle, a team that we really did, you're right, think that they would be a contender definitely in the West, maybe in the league, and just can't seem to get it going there in any sort of consistent fashion.
Of course, they trade former Hurricane captain Jamal Watson out to Swift Current.
Who I feel awful for.
Awful. I talked to Jamal when we were there last week, and, he's one of those guys that wants to win and wants to play in a playoff game, but he'll have some work to do with the Swift Current Broncos, who, as we speak, are 8 points back of a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, but they've won 2 in a row, so they're starting to find their game a little bit. Travis Childs is playing some pretty good nets for them out there in Swift Current, and around the Eastern Conference, it was a logjam at the top. Top 6 teams were separated by only about 5 or 6 points. Now with the Hurricanes kind of continuing to win and everybody else going through a little bit of a 500, just over 500 stretch, the Hurricanes stand alone at the top of the Eastern Conference. Then you have Red Deer, who has 60 points, Brandon, who has 58, Prince Albert, who we saw on the weekend is kind of another surprise team. They have 57 points, 26 wins on the season. And then Calgary, Moose Jaw, pretty good conference, but you're starting to see some separation there.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like there would be. It felt like one of those races that was really going to go right down to the last day. And you know what? Maybe it still will at some point tighten back up as teams kind of come and go. But in a very short period of time, it went from where Calgary, Lethbridge, and Red Deer throw them in a hat. All 3 teams were on any given night were flip-flopping with each other and leapfrogging and falling back. And now, I mean, number one, credit to the Hurricanes for their winning streak, and they've taken it into their own hands and moved up. Red Deer, after a couple of really good games, after they added some big pieces at the deadline, they've kind of come back down to earth a little bit here and aren't quite getting the impact that I thought they were going to have. They looked like they might be the team that was ready to saddle up and run and leave everyone else in the dust. And, a couple of tough losses here. They hammered Brandon right 10-0 right after the deadline, and then not even 2 weeks later get shut out by Brandon 4-0. So in Red Deer, I mean, there's still some work to do for that team to get to the point where they want to be as the Memorial Cup hosts and prove that they should be there as a contender and not just as a host team. So the top end of that conference, you do have some really good teams. Calgary, I don't know if they thought – I thought that they would get Jake Virtanen back and that it would give them that spur
especially
forward.
After the World Junior performance.
Yeah, and I thought that would have solidified it, that Virtanen was – anytime a player gets lent back to the junior program, you almost have this assumption that it's 80% that he'll go back to junior after that anyway, and then Virtanen obviously did not have a good World Juniors in any way, shape, or form. So
let's not go there.
Yeah, I thought that And I thought that Canada's
yes.
Canada's downfall would be the Hitman's gain, but to not get him back there kind of leaves Calgary in the position where I think we're seeing him now, that maybe they are not quite the powerhouse team and the top of the division team that they look like they might be for the first half of the year. They've struggled here, so it is really wide open there. I think Brandon's still a threat, especially coming out of that division out there in the East, where
it's a weird division.
It is a weird division. I never quite know what to make of those teams. You know, is Moose Jaw a contender, or are they a team that should not be in the playoffs?
Well, and one of those teams that a lot of people were thinking that Braden Point was going to get dealt. And I read an article out of Moose Jaw that, 50% of the people wanted him to be traded. The other 50% didn't really want him to be traded. Could you imagine the package they could have gotten back for Braden Point when you look at what Adam Haluka drew from Spokane, what Luke Philp drew for Kootenay, what Jake DeBrusk got for Swift Current, and even you look at the OHL, what Travis Konechny went for, 12 draft picks, 2 conditional picks, plus 2 players.
Yeah. It can be like winning a lottery when you do it right. I remember Cody Eakin got dealt for, I think it was like a 10-1 assets trade when he went from Swift Current to Kootenay. And in the WHL, those prices do go weird, and they go way up. And I just wonder this year with how close everyone was, whether or not it was there. Like we were talking about earlier with Lethbridge coming into the deadline, are they looking to make a splash? Probably not. And so if the Canes are the top team in the league and they're not looking to add a player like Braden Point, and you start trickling down, what team who thinks that they are just a Braden Point away from being a hands-down contender in this league, or is it just a little too close this year for a team to really go all out? Red Deer had to kind of on the basis of being the Mem Cup hosts, but outside of that, I don't know if the market wasn't there, if this is the year where GMs are just not willing to stomach the price of what it can be asked for. And if you're Moose Jaw too, you're right in that middle ground, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of, you're not quite a contender, but then you're really not a contender if you don't have Braden Point. So are you willing to fold up the tent when you are third and firmly third in your division, challenging for home ice in the first round? If you're not going to get the home run 10 asset package, is it even worth your while to try trading them for half of what you can do? Or do you try and ride a Braden Points and let him be the magic man in the playoffs and try to pull an upset or two?
Trade deadline, take away the trades that led up to it, because the DeBrusk deal is a big one, the Luke Philp, the Adam Haluka, the Landon Bow, all big trades. On deadline day,
we were waiting for the big one.
You were waiting for it, and it came at 11:59 Mountain Time. That was Cole Sanford going to the Regina Pats, and John Keane from WHL This Week has a little bit more on that blockbuster trade.
The 2016 WHL trade deadline passing with 9 moves on the final day, but perhaps none bigger than the Medicine Hat Tigers dealing captain and former 50-goal man Cole Sanford to the Regina Pats in return for a second, a third, and a 5th-round Bantam draft pick, 20-year-old forward Brian Williams, and 16-year-old prospect Gary Hayden. I spoke with Tigers head coach and GM Sean Clouston on the deal that was struck just before the deadline.
Sean, trade deadline, you guys pretty much forced to make the biggest deal, I think, of the deadline when your captain came to you and said, I wanted a trade, and by all accounts, I think you got some good return on that deal, but walk me through that move with Regina.
Yeah, no, that was a situation that, as an organization we had looked at and talked about. I mean, when you're in a transition year like we are, I mean, those are things that you have to think about. Cole had asked or talked about it. We had discussed it in would have been late November, and we were on the same page. We were going to try to get it done. Fortunately, as we got real close to the deadline, and there was a few teams added to the list that it was able to happen.
The Regina Pats get some instant help as they continue on their U.S. Division road swing. Head coach and GM John Paddock on the deal with the Tigers.
Sean was reaching out a couple days ago. Are you interested? Well, of course, everybody in the league would be interested, but then it becomes whether you're willing, feel you can, have a need, however you want to look at it, and it grew from there.
Sanford turned out to be instant help in his Pats debut. He scored the overtime winner in Everett on the man advantage.
Getting a player of his quality enhances our opportunities to make the playoffs and should help our power play, and there's lots of positives from it. The assets fit fine. I think we're thrilled to have him, and we expect him to really help our team.
There's John Paddock, a little bit of Sean Clouston as well, thanks to John Keane with WHL This Week. Always does a great job. WHL This Week launches every Friday, has everything you need to know around the Western Hockey League, and we're on our Around the Western Hockey League segment. And that was kind of the only big trade on deadline day. A lot of minor deals like what we saw with the Hurricanes, shipping Scott Allen for a 7th, sending a 3rd for Colton Croker to Regina. After that, I mean, maybe the biggest trade, the Sanford trade aside, was Lane Bensmiller and Locke Morrison. Depth players going to Prince Albert from Mateo Gennaro to Ty Prefontaine, who's a prospect and a 6th-round draft pick. That's the biggest trade aside from Cole Sanford. Yuri Smykel to Kamloops was a pretty decent one too, but not much on deadline day.
Yeah, and even the Calgary PA trade was a little interesting. And you're at the deadline, you sort of look for a contending team and a non-contending team to hook up and trade current assets for future, and that's sort of the construction of most WHL trades. That Calgary PA trade, I mean, Gennaro is a pretty good player, but those are two teams that are kind of in the mix that are just kind of shuffle and deal with each other, I guess, trying to find something that works for both teams. Maybe a bit more of a traditional hockey type trade of trying to find a fit for guys on both teams. But yeah, it was a real letdown if you were sitting there waiting for something to happen on the WHL trade wire. And even the big one, even when Sanford does get traded, it's kind of a head scratcher. And
3.5, 4 hours after the deadline, it gets announced.
Yeah,
right?
so after the deadline, it finally
everybody
comes
had
out.
gone, okay, let's watch some football.
Yeah.
And now through Twitter comes the big one. Yeah, I sat around waiting for something to happen, not on a Hurricane front, but on a league front. And you see the Austin Adamson to Swift Current trickle in, the Garen Magnus to Seattle trickle in, and you're going, okay, well, is this the calm before the storm? I guess the Sanford was the storm.
Yeah.
Usually you see a lot more movement.
Yeah, and the storm, I think, came before when Red Deer made their moves, and so Red Deer had done what they needed to do in their minds to shore up for the Mem Cup, and beyond that, it was a year where, the other thing that you also look for a lot of times is superstar players on bad teams.
Yeah.
It was early in the year when Jaden Deschanel got hurt and was out for the season. A guy I was talking to goes, oh, he's luckiest guy in the world. He doesn't have to play for Kootenay. I'm like, no, he's the most unlucky guy in the world. He for sure would have been traded to a WHL contending team. He would have had a chance to try and win. That's how it works in the WHL. There is kind of an absence of that this year of superstar players on teams that are firmly out of the playoffs, and that's another thing that can help drive the trade market. And Sanford's about as close as you get to that, and that trade, like kind of a weird one in that he didn't go to a team that's a contender. He goes to a team that's below 500 and is kind of trying to fight to even solidify a playoff spot, much closer than trying to compete for a title.
Yeah, and a weird one too, because he had asked for a trade, so not kind of the one where the traditional trade deadline trade where a big player gets moved, as you were talking about, from a not so good team to a pretty darn good team. He had gone to Sean Clouston, had requested a trade, so it was only a matter of time before that trade came through.
And
whether
it takes
was
off some of that value too.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
Teams know that you're up against it and aren't going to give you the home run packages that you might otherwise get for a guy like that.
Yeah, and of course, should mention Hurricane fans would like to know Everett trading Jagger White to the Brandon Wheat Kings for a conditional 6th-round pick.
Second move
trade deadline
of the season for
I
the
think he
former
played
Hurricane.
3 or 4 games for the Silvertips. So.
He was a guy, I had such high hopes for him coming into the season. I really thought he was a guy that was kind of on the verge of taking a step forward and just never seemed to click here, and then obviously didn't click in Everett either.
Well, Constantine's a tough coach to play for.
He's a very
So feel bad for Jagger a little bit. Fortunately enough, the Hurricanes don't have a very fearful coach. Brent Kissio, pretty good guy, pretty good interview. Has been terrific with me. I know he was great with you when you dealt with him when you were at Global. And I guess we'll top and tail it. What a heck of a job he's done.
Oh, just unbelievable. I mean, and for a guy that comes in having never run his own bench, of never having been a head coach before, it should take him some time to figure out what he wants to do and you know, how his coaching style will be different than some of the very, very good coaches that he had the chance to work with during his time in Calgary. He worked with multiple coaches who all had success, who all brought something different to the table. And so he had a chance to learn at a very good university, if you will, coaching university. But to come in and find his own style and his own way of doing things and how he wanted to set things up, the job he's done has just been incredible. And we've seen a number of coaches come through here now in the past few years, and guys that you know, came and went and weren't able to ever seem to get the identity that they wanted with this team and in that dressing room. And in such a short period of time, he's turned it around completely, and having them play a style like we talked about with Giorgio, where offense can be, they have the freedom to go out and be creative and take chances and score goals and find their stride on that end. But guys are still there defensively, and they're back in their own end and helping out and making sure that even though Skinner and Sittler do have to bail them out every once in a while, the defensive structure is still there. The breakouts as good as I've seen in a long time here.
It's not off the glass and out.
No, those the breakout is I swear to God, a real breakout. It's you know, it just the transition game and the puck possession game, which are so key nowadays, are there. And I mean, hats off to the job that Brent Kissio has done since coming in here. And I don't know what kind of magic he's working, but maybe he's a guy that should have had his own WHL bench a long time ago, because he's proving quickly that he knows how to handle himself at this level.
33-12 on January 18th. Less than 2 months from playoffs. Well, I guess 2 months exactly to the end of the regular season. It's going to be an exciting next 2 months, and who knows how much longer come spring.
Yeah, and
because there is going to be playoff hockey in Lethbridge for the first time in 6 years.
There will be, and that's incredible to think about, that to start planning for those warm early spring nights when you don't have to bundle up and go to the rink. It starts to feel like playoff hockey, and to know that we're going to have some nights like that is exciting. To have seen this team up to this point, I think now it's just kind of catching on, and coming out of Christmas is where you got that. They sat in first place in the conference over the Christmas break, and I think that was big for the psyche of a lot of, for players, for coaches, for management, for fans, for everyone to kind of settle in that what they had done up to that point was truly incredible. And then to come back after the break, and it just seems like they've kicked it up another notch since then, is insanely fun to watch. And to see where they go from here, I mean, sky's the limit at this point. And they've, like I talked about earlier, they've had tests all the way along, and they just keep passing the tests. So there's no reason to think that they can't keep doing it from here on out, and that, you know, who knows what can happen from here. You might as well get invested in and jump on board, because right now it is fun to be a fan of this hockey team. And, you know, and just to keep adding on, it's not just winning. I mean, if you are a fan of watching hockey, it is fun hockey to watch. There's goals scored. They like to hit. They like to fight. They like to. I mean, it's an entertainment package with this team right now. So, insanely good goaltending. So, a little bit of everything.
It's a broadcaster's dream, I'll tell you.
Oh, I bet.
It's fun. Paul, thanks for this.
Thanks a lot, Dustin.
Paul Kingsmith on the Inside Track podcast. We'll get him on again here in the next couple of months, because it's going to be a lot more fun stuff to talk about. 33-12, the Hurricanes sitting sole possession in first in the Western Hockey League. 2 months left of the regular season, and then playoffs start. The real season, as some like to say, it will happen. It's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if anymore. That is episode 3 of the Inside Track podcast from the West Side location of Browns Socialhouse. We'll talk to you in a month, everybody.
He'll walk into the middle, finds Wong. Wong shoots, scores! Here's a chance in front, and a great stop! Oh, Stuart Skinner putting on a